On the other side of it, the Pittsburgh Steelers moved on from good old Darius Slay. I said it yesterday. I said, what are the chances that Darius Slay gets moved on from? And you said that it would depend on where he'd go. And I think that today everybody woke up and Darius said, hey, look at guys, this was fun. This was a good time. I hate it here. This sucks. You should let me go back to Philly to end my career or Detroit to end my career. But I think right now we're good. The Steelers said, okay, sounds good. They signed Asante Samuel Jr. to their 53-man roster. Finally, my friend, you wrote about how he should be their starting outside corner, which makes a lot of sense right now because James Pierre is in concussion protocol, which means Asante Samuel Jr. and Brandon Echols will be decided on who will start on the outside. Tell the folks why you think it should be a little ASJ out there.
I saw one specific play, and I want to first talk about the slight negative here. Going back and watching ASJ, there was that Keon Coleman touchdown catch from the 1 yard line. Our friends at PFF did not assign that to Asante Samuel Jr. as a touchdown allowed. I respectfully disagree. I think even though the entire coverage broke down at the line of scrimmage for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Asante Samuel Jr. lost his man at the line of scrimmage amongst all the muck and chaos, and that resulted in that touchdown. That being said, outside of one play where there was a complete coverage bust, I saw a player who did not look like he had been sitting and on the sidelines recovering from spinal fusion surgery for an entire calendar year. I saw a player who, within the first defensive drive that he was in the game, make a one-on-one tackle on James Cook in open space. I saw a player who, while he was maybe playing a little bit too far off of the line of scrimmage for my liking, I can see why they wanted to give him as much space and shading and coverage as possible here. And I think he responded very, very well. I like what Brandon Echols has done this year in small parts. I think he excels in the slot. I think having Asante Samuel Jr. opposite Joey Porter Jr. gives him the best chance of actually making the secondary better in slight increments for the remaining 5 games. If they think it's going to find any level of consistency this season and beyond, I think Asante Samuel Jr. has shown that with a little bit more runway, with some more trust and opportunity, he's going to be and remains a starter in the NFL. And I think that's more than can be said of anyone else that is slated to play the second outside cornerback position.
I just want to see Asante out there as much as possible. You know what I mean? I want to see if a guy who's 26 years old, James Pierre is not the future of the Pittsburgh Steelers cornerback position. He's just not, like you wish that he was. It would be cool. It'd be a fun story. He's not. Asante Samuel Jr. could be. He easily could be the future of the Steelers cornerback position next to Joey Porter Jr. And then if you add somebody else, you have a trio that is under the age of 27, and you got to feel great about the future there. That's how I view Asante right now. It has nothing to do with how he's playing, which I feed off of what you're saying with how good he is playing, because I'll base my analysis off of what you tell me after you watch the film. And I'm looking at it going, if he's playing well enough to be out there, awesome. And if he could give the Steelers a heads up in some of the portions of a rebuild, even better, because the Steelers have to at some point acknowledge that so many positions need to be changed, and corner's one of them. And if you have a guy like Asante, if you have a guy like Joey Porter Jr., and all you need is one more piece that isn't Jalen Ramsey or another 34-year-old corner, cool, you're one step closer. You're one step closer to filling a position that you desperately need, that you have desperately needed for some time now. And to me, like, again, Brandon Echols is fun. Brandon Echols isn't the starting long-term corner for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's not going to sit on the outside for, the next 5 seasons. Asante might. Like, he actually might do it. And to be able to do that, I mean, that's, how do you don't avoid that. You don't avoid that situation. I'm actually thrilled that the Pittsburgh Steelers chose not to avoid that situation. Do you see that? Do you see Asante starting on the outside for the remainder of the season?
I do. I think some of that is going to be, circumstantial and based off of, to use Mike Tomlin's word, attrition at the position. But I do foresee him playing the rest of the year on the outside, and I think that's what the Pittsburgh Steelers ideally want him to develop into and to take hold of as far as the position he's going to play. So yeah, I do. I think moving forward, starting with Baltimore, I think he's going to play the majority of his snaps on the outside. If it goes terribly wrong, right? Like if they find out that he's better suited to, play in the slot ideally, or maybe he doesn't have the, I don't know. I don't want to accuse him of not being in like the game shape yet, but like coming out of being gone for a year, maybe he doesn't have the wind to be an outside corner all the time just yet. Don't know. If something happens, they can adjust and reduce the snap counts or push him into the slot, have him be the nickelback corner for sure. But other than that, I think you got to put him on the outside, give him as much space and opportunity to play as possible, and just let it develop. It might have some hiccups along the way, right? Like you're dealing with a player who has overcome a lot, but I think it's worth it.
I would love to see it. I would love to see it, especially with James Pierre, as we said, dealing with a concussion. You never know what's going to happen, but massive news for the Pittsburgh Steelers. What are you more excited about, Asante Samuel or Adam Thielen?
Oh man, it was really hard to decide between these two. And it was Asante Samuel Jr. just barely, based off of the fact that he's a decade younger and probably still good at football.
What one were you more surprised by? The Slay release / Samuel or the Thielen? Because the Slay release goes into this. One came with the other.
Yeah. The Thielen acquisition is genuinely shocking to me. More
Yes.
because the Pittsburgh Steelers acquiring a player this late in the season that isn't like signing somebody off a practice squad or bringing back somebody that they had a previous relationship with. Like this feels very outside of the usual MO for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it feels like, as we talked about earlier, this reach of desperation to try something new because you kind of ran out of options. So that is certainly a surprise. The Slay thing, as we talked about yesterday, felt like it could become a possibility when you bench and make a player, even someone who was statistically one of the worst performing coverage cornerbacks in the entire NFL this year. When you make a player who has won a Super Bowl inactive, you open the door for this conversation of, is he going to return? So that wasn't a huge shock. The Thielen thing felt like a huge shock to me.
The Thielen thing was a huge shock, and it was, I don't know, man. Oh, sorry, I apologize. I don't know. I'm a little excited about what the Steelers did there. I'm a little excited about what the Steelers did there.